Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now on with the show.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Blacklist Podcast. I am number 23 on your list, Jack Wengroski, and with me is...
Number 13, Melissa Maxey.
We are here to talk about episode number 17 in Season 2. It is called The Longevity Initiative, which is number 97 on our list. This episode was directed by Donald Thorin Jr. And first initial thing that I wanted to talk about was this was the first time where the thing on the list really refers to the billionaire Hobbs and not the actual program. The Longevity Initiative is what Hobbs started, is to find the fountain of youth, and we have this scientist that has been investigating with jellyfish. And this one particular jellyfish can regenerate its own tissue. And so he
basically said it was like a frightened fear situation. It could take itself back all the way to when it was first created.
Right. So,
it goes back in time.
Right. Like a pupa or basically back down to a polyp. And it was a real interesting episode where the first thing that they do is, they show the experiments, a little bit of it, and the guy that's been driving the patients,
the corpses,
all the corpses, he's getting a little bit of the jitters. There's a little bit of heat, so he's getting a little nervous, and of course his nerves are rewarded by a traffic stop, and the cop's looking at his stuff, and he says, there's been a lot of smuggling down this particular route, and I need to see the back of your truck. So he's like, no, I don't have any drugs.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Wasn't a good idea at all, because what happened when he lifted the lid in the back of the truck?
Bodies with their brains exposed.
Yeah, it looked like something right out of a horror movie. And of course, the cop is just like, oh my God. So the driver grabs his weapon, shoots the cop. So now he's a cop killer. He's on the run. He's in danger of the Julian Powell, the scientist, not only endangering him, to the authorities and being caught, but Hobbs, the billionaire tech mogul, is funding this. And it's kind of up in the air right at this point, whether he knew about the experiment or not. He's got a little bit of deniability. So when Reddington calls him out and says, this Roger Hobbs has had this fascination with immortality, and he's been doing these experiments, and I know, which we talked about the list being a little haphazard, but I think it's became a recent addition to the list. And for some reason, I couldn't figure out why this was on Reddington's list, other than the fact that this guy is a hazard.
It didn't make any sense at first. I was like, because like you said, Red always has a plan, and this guy didn't seem like he had anything that Red could really use.
No, I think though,
unless he wants to live forever.
Right. Well, we'll talk about it at the end, but in the end, he garnered a favor from the billionaire, and he was trying to find out whether there was anything he could use to get Liz's memory back.
Exactly. And it all comes back to Liz.
It always comes back to Liz. What did you think about Liz in this episode? I think she's still kind of in love with Tom Keene. Doesn't want to admit it. I think there's still some contact.
There's definitely some chemistry, a lot of talking, and it's her birthday.
Oh, yeah.
In this episode. It's her birthday.
So
he calls her for a little birthday chat. How you doing? It's your birthday. Have a good time at the restaurant we always went to. too. I was just like, oh.
Yeah,
and
that wasn't awkward at all.
I know. And then Red, he comes into the picture too. He drops off a little memento gift of wine that she had made with her father, I guess, when she was 5. And he thought that too. So he brought another bottle just in case.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. The fact that those were the grapes that she had crushed with her adopted father, Sam, right?
Right.
And yeah, it was a pretty amazing little fatherish, daughterish moment between Red and Liz. I don't think he's her father, but I definitely think he is some sort of guardian and, that he really cares for Liz. And, she just looked very surprised and very touched.
I think that she has replaced the daughter that he lost.
It could be, much like the episode where Liz had killed the harbor master and was really looking over her daughter. I really think that's what they're establishing is somehow he got in the Fulcrum exchange or something that he got her parents killed and he's kind of that overseer and really has his eye on her. And as I think you kind of aptly noted, she really didn't get it. She was still kind of had Tom on the brain.
Exactly.
So, it is.
Yeah, because they're going to, yeah.
I think it establishes even one step closer in the relationship between Red and Liz one more time.
There really wasn't a lot of contact between Red and Liz in this episode. I don't know how I felt about that. I kind of wanted them to kind of talk more about... I like their little talking sessions, and they haven't been doing them as much.
Well, they haven't really had the time, really, because it has spent so much time on the Tom Keene thing that this is the first time that we've gotten to a straight blacklister in quite a few episodes, really. There definitely have been villains, but it was really more the Tom Keene storyline, and he was in the middle of action, but in the meantime, they were investigating the King family, although Tom made like an appearance in that. So that was still we were still looking at the Tom story, and then Tom resurfaces back in Germany. Red has to go back to him because we really spent like this almost kind of recap episode where they're doing a whole bunch of flashbacks with the judgmental judge.
They're trying to get people caught up before they start winding down the season.
And this like EW.com that you like, they really liken this to the glue that kind of puts things back into place and some chess pieces into motion. Like, okay, what are we going to do with Tom Keene? We know Tom's back in the picture. We know that his relationship with the Major is broken. So it sets, Tom kind of coming back up. It also sets up Red as getting a little closer.
I thought that, when Tom was on the phone with Liz and then he gets off suddenly because the Major shows up, and then they get kidnapped.
Right.
That whole scene, because the Major's, he has Tom like in his pocket because he raised him and he taught him all these things. I mean, he knew a lot of stuff, but kind of turned the tables on the Major during that because everyone's telling Tom to stay away from Liz. Like the Major's saying it and Red's saying it. And he made a point about bringing up Liz during that exchange. And he made a point to the Major and said, well, I'm supposed to stay away from Liz, but she's the one that saved my life because they end up not killing him because he has information.
Yeah, the whole thing saved his life because the Major was really just about to kill him when that German consortium kidnapped him. And of course they got to do skinhead things and torture him. And, they're in the middle of this whole thing where they pick out a picture of Liz. And of course, the irony is the fact that she is an FBI agent would bring down all sorts of problems for them. And so he promises, hey, I'll get you some. They really didn't reveal it, but it's got to be some sort of FBI info or some.
Well, and then the picture that he had in his wallet was the picture of the sonogram from the baby they were supposed to adopt. And it had Liz's name on it. When I first saw it, I was like, was Liz pregnant? There were a lot of people that were like, was she pregnant for real? Is she pregnant now? But I know that it was from that adoption period, but he hung on to it. It was like his family that he could never have.
Yeah, it was hard to see. At first, I thought it was a wedding picture, like the very first wedding, until I realized, oh, wait, no, well, that's weird. It's black and white. And it took like a second for it just to register what that picture was. The fact that Tom had kept that was really strange because it really seemed like that whole time through that whole first season that he was just so emotionally removed. And then to find out after all this time that he really loves Liz. Of course, here's the problem is the only reason he's coming back to Liz is to get something for this German consortium so they will not kill him. Because,
right.
Yes, they are Nazi-ish skinheads, but they are part of a big arms network, and they are very well connected. And of course, I think they kind of overblown their influence. Like this little group could find anybody anywhere. Kind of not buying it, not especially after Red blew their whole operation apart in about 5 minutes. But let's put that aside. We'll put believability aside. And the other thing that Red and Dembe and Wrestler, I thought had shot and killed most of them in that last exchange.
Well, they did.
So how are these guys?
I mean, he obviously has.
I could have sworn I saw the guy with the weird milky eyeball. I could have sworn I saw him go down. Now I'm gonna have to go back and look, but he could have been shot and not killed. Maybe just a graze.
Yeah, and then Major has an X-Files reference for me because he was Frank Black in the Millennium series that Chris Carter did and had a couple episodes with Mulder and Scully. Lance Henriksen.
He's been on a few things. He's had a lot of experience, and I think it shows. He's got a great character. I think he's probably, as far as believability, he's like miles better than what I was seeing from Berlin and so many of the other ones.
I agree. Yeah, he's definitely a deeper character. His acting is.
And I don't even know, was he the one on the blacklist, or was that time the Major? I think he was, or was it Tom Keene?
Tom Keene.
So Tom Keene was the one on the list, and they went through the Major. And it surprised me that this guy didn't have a number on the list.
Maybe he does. We just don't know it.
So, in this episode, they start putting pressure on Hobbs. And so the district attorney comes back, or the future attorney general, I should say, sorry. And he comes in and kind of threatens Agent Cooper and says, hey, I would never tell you how to do your job, but, if you don't have proof, can you let this multi-billionaire go because he's good for business?
And he topped it off with having the scientist that is helping Cooper. When Cooper was talking to him on the phone, it looks like the scientist is like he might have to cut some people off of his study, kind of like telling Cooper that he might not have a place. And Cooper's, well, I'm guaranteed on this. And he's like, well, we just haven't heard anything yet.
Well, they've changed the funding and the parameter of the study, blah, blah, blah. So,
and we already know that was part of the threat because they want him to do what they say. So they're basically putting the noose around his neck. You either do this or we're gonna kill you.
Right. Yeah, it's not I'm gonna tell you how to do your job. It's, you know what,
you're gonna do this. Yeah, you're gonna do what I say.
Or you're gonna die of a massive brain tumor.
Yeah. So they're already making Cooper cross the line like every single episode. He comes in every single episode and I've got something new. I don't wanna I can just imagine this. This is gonna just be like snowballed. I mean, every episode he's going to have something bigger and bigger and bigger until Red's just going to have to step in at some point.
And here's the other thing is the fact that Red actually stepped in on Hobbs' behalf also, because they had a little talk and Red said, I can take care of your FBI problem, but basically it's, you're going to owe me. In fact, we find out that...
That's what he wanted.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason why he brought everybody together was because he wanted Hobbs in his pocket. He wanted to be able to use him for something.
So that's basically the reason he's on that list. So
we were talking about this earlier because it seems like the list is, I know we've talked about this before, but it seems like Red is putting people on the list because he wants something out of them. And all these new people that he says, oh, we need to go check this person out, because we find out that with Hobbs, do we really know what the deal is with Hobbs yet? Or is he's just got him on the wire for whenever he needs him? Is that basically what it is?
I think so. I think Hobbs is just a guy with just a bunch of money that wants to live longer, set up these experiments. Unfortunately, they kind of moved into the human test trials, which is highly illegal. So the fact that you've got innocent people and patients popping up that without skulls and being experimented on, and I think these are the kind of people that Red truly doesn't like. I think he doesn't like that kind of loss of life. It's one thing to rob somebody. It's one thing to take their information, but to kill the innocents. And I think Red is really opposed to that. On the other hand, these are his kind of people. And I think it's as much use to him as it is that, well, these are bad people. So he's kind of like the Robin Hood of the FBI. You know, he's really kind of robbing the bad for his own reasons.
Exactly.
Of course, that's kind of a stretch in the analogy, but that's just the fact that this whole episode was basically set up by Red just so Hobbs would owe him a favor. And it's gonna be a big one because Hobbs would have absolutely gone to jail. And on the other hand, Hobbs had the Attorney General of the United States of America kind of fighting for him and not even knowing why.
Yeah.
So what about the relationship between Wrestler and Liz? Was it just me, or does it seem like that's kind of heating up a little bit?
I don't know if it's heating up. I think people think it's heating up. I don't know. I thought it was very, very kind of him because Liz for her birthday and she doesn't really have anybody. And he did something really nice. He went and got food from the restaurant that she was talking with Tom about because that's her favorite place to eat because she wasn't going to go do anything on her birthday. And he went and got food and brought it back.
You know, and it's kind of like the good friend stage now, but that's how you find a lover. You know, the ones that know what you like and are in tune to that. And today's friend is tomorrow's wife or husband.
Right.
And many of the modern show writers, when they get bored and don't know what else to do, either somebody dies or they have a romantic relationship that either goes on or is fatally flawed and only lasts a couple episodes and then they kind of brush it off, or that and somebody dies.
Or like Scandal.
Right. Oh, and is it this show that right after, and I hate to say it because it's on the same network, but isn't that where the slap is on right after?
I believe so.
Oh, man. I mean, I've seen like little snippets and
Are you interested in watching it?
No, not at all. It's annoying.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I can't believe the writers, this isn't like a mini series. What happens is they're at a party. I think this kid like kicks him in the shins or something. And he pushes the kid back or slaps the kid or whatever it is. As wrong as that would have been, they're building this could last 10 years. And everything is built around this one slap and how the relationships turn and this war between the families and, going to court and he might go to jail. But even if I was remotely interested in this is not the subject material that I want to be seeing for the next, let's say, 10 seasons.
I don't have any desire to see that. I have lots of TV that I'm watching, other shows that are more interesting.
That show just kind of terrifies me. I actually rush to change the channel or stop when my DVR is going. And it kind of catches the first couple minutes, and I literally run to stop it. I think if you're like a really hardcore nighttime dramatic soap opera kind of watcher, it might be the show, but I think they might get some Blacklist viewers, and hopefully I'm just hoping that they don't get sucked in. So let's take
I don't know. I like the new series, The Bloodlines, on Netflix.
Oh, I haven't seen that. No, I did. The replacement on Monday nights for The Blacklist was State of Affairs.
Yeah.
And
I know you like that show because you bring it up all the time.
I do, and I really did like the show, but apparently, what's her name? The star.
They fired her?
No, they didn't fire her. She was from Grey's Anatomy, but apparently she is not well liked.
No, she's not, because she burned everybody on Grey's Anatomy, basically.
As a character or just as an actress?
As an actress.
Yeah, so she's got a lot of bad blood there.
You don't burn Shonda Rhimes, because Shonda Rhimes she has a lot of shows on the network. She has like 3 going on 4 shows.
Right.
And her shows are big time. Like, it's Shondaland, and that's pretty much ruling the world. It's like Shondaland and HBO. It's like you compare it to like big TV, like Cinemax, HBO.
And I think that leaves The Blacklist so far on top of so many of the other shows, because you've got so much of the drama, you've got the humor, the interaction between Red and Aram and Samar. Oh, and I don't know if you noticed.
What happened? We didn't see them this time.
Yeah, they were very minimal kind of background. I think they were focusing on the stories coming up. But I made a comment about how Aram always gets the info. Amir, the actor, actually favorited the tweet.
He did.
He did. So
he's really, that's really great about the cast. And I know that's probably part of their contract because social media is so huge, but it's really nice to be able to get on Twitter and kind of have like one-on-one time with them when they do tweeting during the episodes, or they get on during the day even and tweet with fans and talk about random stuff. Like Megan Boone is always posting stuff on Twitter. It's pretty fabulous because you kind of see what's going on with her and what she's interested in. And sometimes she'll post pictures from the sets, not usually like on set, but usually like during break periods. And it's really fun to be able to follow what's going on with them, and she's on Instagram too. So there's a lot of stuff going on with her. And a lot of the cast members are even on Instagram.
And speaking of Aram, he was actually the one on the show that made the connection that the pharmaceutical company rep, which was Lloyd, you were wondering where the name Lloyd came up.
Yeah.
So he was the pharmaceutical rep who was picking up patients, and he picked up the fact that they all had frontal lobe issues, and that they were going to this mental health facility, and these people were either disappearing or dying. And so then Aram makes the link that the former employee is working for Powell, who is working for Hobbs Medical Companies. And that's really when everything hit the fan, because then the Attorney General is worried about the Department of Defense contract that they have with Hobbs. And so that really set the whole chain. So Aram really had a really central role in this, even though he didn't have a lot of screen time. That was kind of an important shift, I think.
Find, yeah.
So,
and when it was Wrestler and Liz, they make it to, they find out more information about the patients, and then they, as they're hunting around, they find out that there's another patient that's going to get taken. And so Wrestler and Liz go off to save the patient, and they get there just as she's being taken. And that's when we find out that the patient is actually the doctor's girlfriend. Like, she was in an accident, and
but they were fixing to get married, and so his whole thing was he was trying really not to do the longevity initiative, but he was trying to fix the frontal lobe damages by inclusioning of the jellyfish. Although it was really doing these massive seizures, and that's where the real interesting part comes in, when Red actually kidnaps Dr. Powell and says, "Okay, you need to tell me what's going on." So he tells him like the real story. This is my fiance, got in an accident. And by the way, I falsified
all the documentation. So Hobbs has paid this guy millions of dollars for this research, which really hasn't done what he wanted it to do. And on top of it, he's liable now. He can't go back to Hobbs and say, it didn't work, because he's falsified so much, it makes it seem like he's really onto something, which is why Hobbs also started to approve the trials. Right. And Red wants to know more about it because he wants to be able to get Liz to remember what happened with the fulcrum and stuff. He wants her to remember, and he's looking for any possible way to use any sort of research to get her to remember. So I wonder what he's going to find. I wonder what they're going to decide is going to be the one thing that helps her remember.
It is interesting. Is that part of the fulcrum? Like, is the fulcrum part of where her memories are? I guess that would be more X-Files kind of stuff. But
they could go that way.
They really wiped whatever technique they used. It almost sounded like to me where...
like they cut it out. Like they cut the memory out.
Yeah. You would actually, to get this memory back, are they going to have to reconstitute Liz's brain? Like they went in and zapped these cells? Because that's the way this kind of seemed where it was leading.
That's an interesting.
Like
I didn't think about that until just now when we were talking about it.
Right. Because that other, the hypnotist really got through the drug therapy, really almost got to those memories. And of course, then the FBI, the cavalry comes back in. They pull Liz out of there before Liz finds out for herself. And of course, Red takes it as far as he can. But, so I don't think.
I wonder if Liz is going to be the one to initiate her finding out. I wonder if it's not really going to be Red at all, if it's just going to be her, and maybe she's going to use Amar to help her find a way to get the memories, like on her own.
I don't know, because you're really just rehashing that old episode, with the drug induced memories and hypnotism. And, is it just going to come? I don't know. Is it going to come back naturally, or are they going to replay that whole thing? And instead of pulling the carpet out from underneath us at the very end, they'll say, okay, we're going to let the cat out of the bag.
Right.
So, it's kind of interesting to see which way they'll go, because they really almost kind of went there.
Yeah. I wonder, maybe Tom will be involved in that. If they keep Tom around a little bit longer.
Well, he wasn't really kind of in on that process. I think it's going to have to be Red and Liz, because they're going to have to find out exactly what process they use to take that memory away. And once they find that, it's like the magic formula. It's like the, I don't know if anybody's done the Harry Potter things, but to undo a spell, you have to know the original spell.
Right.
And like my geek cred just went up like a half a star there, but...
You said Harry Potter.
Yeah. Geek cred. So, but that's the thing. I think there's an element to that. I think they're going to find what they did, and they'll undo it, and it'll unlock, memories and this and that. Or is this kind of something they're saving up for the full finale, when they're really done with the series and there's nothing left to do? And then, okay, once they reveal this, what's the motivation for Red to keep going? Is this the end game?
Have to, yeah, because that would change the whole game.
It would.
That would have to change everything. And they're not going to do that right now. They could hold out for a very long time about that.
Well,
and just see pieces of it as we go.
Yeah, that really opens a big question, because you could go either way. Like, it just becomes like the list, but there's no reason to, once all that comes out, there's no real reason to hide it, no real reason for, all the secrecy. So here's my prediction. The stuff that the kind of questions everybody wants answered might not get answered till the finale.
Well, I know one thing for sure. The Blacklist is really good at cliffhangers. We're going to know that the end of this season is going to be a big deal. And I can imagine that, now that we're on the second half of the season, heading toward the, season finale in a few months, that we're going to start getting more information. And I don't know. So, do we know very much about the previews for the next episode? Were fantastic. Because let's talk about Megan or Liz and Tom and what happens at the end of this episode. Because, Liz's little birthday party with Wrestler ended and she went home. And when she went inside, Tom was waiting for her, and he said something. He's like, I need a place to stay, and he's like, I don't have anywhere else to go. And it was funny because another fan had mentioned that line had been mentioned before. And he's really playing on her now. He's really messing with her. And it could be just because he's in love with her, but she still has unresolved feelings with him. So is she going to protect him? Is she going to throw him out on his ear? I don't know.
Well, and the fact that he's promised something to the skinhead group.
Yeah, so he could be totally playing her.
I think we want to believe that the romantic Tom, but I think Tom's there. This whole epic thing about Liz really saved his life. They're not just going to let him go. They're going to hold him on the chain for at least something, some information, some sort of favor for letting Tom live. And, so he's going to set himself up, kind of ingratiate him back in her life. Red,
he's going to be pissed.
Right. Well, he is in the preview.
I mean, they show the preview and Red and Dembe are right at the door and they have their guns drawn. And Liz, by instinct, draws hers too, so it's Red and Dembe and Liz, and then there's Tom like all meeky in the background.
Right.
I'm like, oh God.
Except, he's got the puppy dog look, except we know that he's just going to...
He's like, I just needed somewhere to stay. Liar.
And I think if it wasn't for Tom's popularity, I think they would have killed him off by now. But I think you're really gonna force the issue here, because when he uses Liz again, she's, this is not only gonna devastate Liz again, but it's gonna make Red really mad. And of course, where do you go?
Yeah.
Because he was he was really under Red's protection.
Well, Liz and Red are already at a tenuous place anyway, because they're just coming out of getting their feelings hurt and, and they're just trying to kind of be cordial to each other. And Liz is still pissed off enough at Red, but this might take Red to a whole new level because he just really wants Tom gone. He knows that Tom is just too much trouble. And he knows that with her, if she remembers something in front of Tom, he's going to use it against her.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is a big security risk for Red, because any kind of information that gets out about whatever he knows or whatever he's trying to keep secret or whatever he's trying to find out, he doesn't want anyone else to have it. He just wants to have it himself so he can either protect it or use it himself.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of using, we didn't finish off the connection with Red and Hobbs. Dr. Julian. He shot himself, and of course, Hobbs thinks that Red killed him.
Red let him,
He just kind of and looked surprised. He really looked surprised when it happened. I mean, the look of shock on his face, but the fact that he let him do it, and then Hobbs thought that Red made it look like a suicide.
Yeah.
And Hobbs thought that was brilliant, and of course, and then you've got the Major is he's feeling used. There's a lot of using going on. So
yeah, there is. Everybody's using everybody.
So, the Major at the end of the episode is what's Jacob. Tom Keen's real name is Jacob. And he said, I want him dead.
Yeah. So do you know that in the next episode, that's going to be that's why he's hiding out at Liz's place. It's all going to be, maybe there's going to be a huge gunfight again. Yeah. Maybe Wrestler will get involved. We haven't seen Wrestler manhandle anybody for a while. He's usually the brawler. He usually gets in and he's the one that's, but even in the last couple gunfights, there wasn't any hitting involved. He usually likes to hit someone.
Right. And what about that great scene between Wrestler and Red when they were in that vault and they were ready to explode and he was...
Oh my God, that was my favorite episode. It's still one of my favorite episodes.
Oh, it was. It was a bonding, really the moment where Wrestler and Red really bonded, and it became less about Red as an outsider and really Wrestler as kind of a badass. Yeah. So, now everybody wants Jacob Phelps dead. We got to get something for Wrestler here. So there's a lot going on. And I think if you put it all together, I think the next episode is going to be how many people want Tom dead fest.
Well, the numbers keep rising. So by the next episode, he's going to have a couple dozen people after him. And what is the deal with the red velvet cupcakes? This is kind of a funny thing because I don't really care for red velvet too much, but it seems like in all of the TV series, they bring out the red velvet cupcake. They did that in The Killing and we just about died because we were just like, red velvet. So Aram does the same thing. Red velvet cupcakes. They've been posting those red velvet cupcakes all over Twitter, all over Instagram, all over Twitter. So I'm like, how many people out there actually like red velvet?
I think it's a big girl thing, first off. And Aram, they kind of, I think they did like the little kind of awkward get well card.
Oh my gosh, that was awkward.
And then, like the little party thing. I don't know what they're setting up.
Funeral flowers.
But I think it's much like chocolate and, very, I think Red Velvet is a very female oriented cupcake. I think, I don't think it's universal, but, 5 out of 10 dentists recommend Dentine. There's always that like
5 out of 6 women recommend Red
Velvet cupcakes. Yeah.
Huh. I'm going to be the one that doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason that what's the creamery, the one that they do the mixing with the not marble.
Cold Stone.
Cold Stone Creamery.
Yeah.
One of their most popular flavors is red velvet, and I've never seen a guy get that. And I'm not saying that I've frequented that much, but yes, I kind of have. And anytime I go, it's...
So what's your choice?
My choice is usually like chocolate chip or brownie, like chocolate syrup. I do notice the girls tend to go with more caramel. Girls are more caramel oriented and more red velvet. But, I've seen guys, I think there are guys that get it. I'm just playing the percentages.
I want to know what the actual percentage is. I do.
Well, we probably could find out, but I don't think we'll probably take that much time to figure out.
I'd rather have red wine.
Well, maybe that's what it makes the girls think about, red wine. I don't know. I think this is just one of the mysteries, but it is kind of funny that the Blacklist Twittersphere has become obsessed with red velvet cupcakes.
They are. That and Tom Keene.
And, what if Dr. Powell's research had turned up that he could restore the memories, so... would they have popped off the top of Liz's head and put some jellyfish in there?
Maybe. Who knows what Red would be willing to do to get the information out of her? I mean, how far is he willing to go?
Why not?
He tortured her pretty much in that.
Well,
in Luther Braxton. I mean, it was her choice, but he was like. But he still. I mean, she was out. And he was the one that said, he asked the doctor, he asked a couple of questions, but he still went forward with it.
Well, but Liz...
after it fried her brain.
Right. Well, Liz started it, and Liz really wanted to know. And, of course, at the time, we didn't know, I don't think even Liz knew at that time that she already had the fulcrum. And, I suspect Red already kind of knows that she has access to it. I'm surprised that Aram has not given that up. The fact that it hasn't leaked out that Liz has this little thing. I don't think Red has thought to ask anybody on the task force, because then if everybody knows about it, then, maybe the government, it's something that they would rather keep.
Right.
But, it does present some problems. So, other than that, we kind of
covered, all of the major points in the episode.
I think so.
Except for we need to talk about, just one little tidbit about the end of the episode when Wrestler brought Liz her meal. It shows Red, and he's going through those pictures, and he has every single year of Liz on her birthday.
Oh,
in a picture, like he has them in like just single shots, and him reminiscing about her birthday each year.
Well, which means that Sam was not only a good friend, but he was that kind of overseer. And, so that really shows more depth. I think they're showing more and more depth. And I still think that's kind of where it leads, that he's not the father, but I truly believe that he feels responsible for her parents getting killed. And so this is his way of kind of overseeing her rise in the FBI, or, getting to work with her. And I think it's still kind of in his best interest that she not know. I think, once this kind of comes out, unless they have some other reason, that's kind of the end of the relationship.
Right.
If she won't talk to him for 15 minutes because, she felt like he used him, what's she going to feel like when it turns out that, that his dealings were what actually got her parents killed and where she lost her memory and whatever trauma that she went through.
I hope that he's in the room when she figures that out. I can't wait for that.
Yeah,
the drama just with that is going to just be exceptional.
That could be just seasons and seasons. I think that could be the very end. I think that might be the one, the thing where, when the season, when everything is played out and they just can't come up with anything more on the list, that the truth kind of comes out and it's like, oh my God, you are my father, or whatever it is.
I don't know if that has to be the end. It's not like Star Wars. You were my father. You know what I mean? I think that they could have her find out and play with it for a little bit, but then move it to another level. Either she's with Red more about finding out more information about the next thing that they're going to be doing. I think that they could really use it as a jumping point to a whole new level of the Blacklist.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see which way they go with it. Yeah, I think it's going to be long term. My mind really says, just let us know.
Yeah, all the fans around the world are saying the same thing.
Just let us know. But on the other hand, watch what you wish for, because what makes, that's part of what makes the show is that kind of unknown relationship between her and Red. And I don't think it's just the Blacklist. I think that is part of the major drama.
Right. I agree.
All right. Well, this was the SMG Blacklist podcast brought to you by the Southgate Media Group. And that is at www.southgatemediagroup.com. And you can click on our shows, a variety of other shows, blogs, and let's see, my personal Twitter, if you are interested, is at jwingrosky, and we are at Twitter at BlacklistPod. And Melissa, what are our Instagram and your Twitter?
My Twitter is at MSMaxi, and our Instagram for the Blacklist is the Blacklist Pod.
And we also do the Bosch podcast. And what's our info for that?
We have a Twitter. It's called the Bosch TV Fan Group, and an Instagram account. And then we also have at Bosch Pod. We have a Twitter, and we talk about Harry Bosch, and it's fabulous.
And we should have a link coming up very soon where the fans can send us a message via Facebook Messenger, and we will go through the comments. Send us a message on our Facebook page. And do we currently have a Facebook page?
We do. It's Blacklist Pod, I think.
So go to www.facebook.com. Blacklist Pod is our page. And there should be a link there to send a message. And we may have to work out a kick or two, but we'll go through those and we will pick one or two or three and to be on air. And we will answer some of those questions or give some reactions. So if you're interested in that, go to Facebook and like us.
It's the Blacklist Podcast SMG.
Blacklist Podcast SMG. So go to there and we will either there already is a link or we will create one for that. And let's see, what else is there? That's about all we have. Till next time.
See you then.